Hey guys, and welcome to the Huffington Post. I am here with an amazing woman. I met her at the NatWest Accelerator, and she told me a few stories of what she's doing, how she got into her journey, and she followed me on Instagram as well, and she was like there just watching a bit of my stuff, and then we started talking about social media and so forth. But this isn't all about me. It's about her today and her story and the obstacles that you've had to overcome in your journey. So can you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, hi, I'm Geeta Salhan. I'm a co-founder, along with my sister, of Green Sisters. We're a plant-based and allergen-free food brand, which manufacture authentic Indian foods with a little bit of a twist. So we bear in mind nutrition, choice, and obviously peace of mind for those of us who've got a combination of diets or who have friends or family who simply want something tasty to eat when they're out on the move.
Cool. So how did you get into business? Why did you start up in business?
My journey has been probably quite a long one because I was diagnosed at university with a condition called celiac disease, which basically meant I was allergic to gluten, and that was many moons ago. And so being at university, struggled massively because people at university were obviously eating their pizzas and lots of foods that naturally would be something you'd indulge in, but I couldn't have or partake in any of those occasions. And I think for me, our business, or the reason we've set up, is more than food. It's actually about the experience and bringing back an inclusive way of eating, and supporting people through their challenges of, if you're out and about and you're really struggling to either choose something nutritious that meets your dietary preferences or choices, or whether it's for medical condition, that we can actually support that. So I knew at university I wanted to help individuals, but I think it wasn't until I spent a few years in corporate world, kind of going up and down the country and really realising how limiting the options were out there.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think it's a little bit of a taboo having a medical condition that stops you from being able to partake in, whether it's a buffet at your workplace, whether it's at school, you're not able to enjoy food with maybe your fellow students, or even in corporate world, we were at sort of meetings where food would be in the middle of the table, but you're not able to eat it. And I think it's not just unique to individuals who have one allergy, it's unique to everybody. Anybody who isn't being catered for, whether that's, for religious reasons, because you decide to be plant-based, or because you've got a dietary need, people were being excluded, and they weren't necessarily talking about that condition. And what that means is that they were missing out. We walk around on a daily basis trying to be at the top of our game in performance, and you can't do that without having, yourself fully nourished. There is a massive link and a whole world of evidence around the gut being linked to the mind. So if you're not nourishing your gut or nourishing your body, how can you be expected to be at your peak performance? And I think that's really less spoken of in the world of work. And I think that's something that really I'm passionate about. And, it's not just that inclusivity through food and the diversity through food. It's also that ability to be able to recognise that, you can create an environment that enables people to be at the top of their game if you simply help them to nourish themselves well. So, yeah, that's sort of the reason we exist, is really to kind of heighten the awareness of these things and help support individuals who are passionate about their well-being as well.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Especially like through this year, I've gone vegetarian, and I've had to do a hell of a lot of research to understand like what to eat, nutrition, all of those things, but like kind of just winging it. But like if there was more information and advice and someone to actually turn to say like, listen, if you're going to change your diet, then you need to make sure you have these other things as well. Otherwise, you're not going to function correctly.
Yeah.
instead of just winging it, which a lot of people just do to begin with, or they just do a bit of research. But having someone to actually go to and speak to and give good advice is, I think it's definitely something that a lot of people need to look into. So within your journey, could you give us a time when you had like a problem and you've had to overcome that, whether that's in some type of determination, some type of hiring staff, firing staff, whatever it is? It's your story.
There's so many challenges, I think, when you run your own business. Pointing out one in particular is the balance you strike between actually managing the time you've got within your day, and also managing things that are happening outside of that. Yeah. So I think for me, the journey has been it's been pretty challenging because I seem to typically want to do more than one thing at the same time. So I'm balanced learning about nutrition, so I'm now qualified as a nutritional therapist, but doing that with the intention of it adding value to the products that we bring to the table, and finding the time to manage that with then personal life as well. So, it's been a road that I think the learning for me is, because I'm passionate, I'm able to actually fulfill the, all of the needs of what I need to achieve, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you've got to really have a focus on your own well-being and mental health. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that I smiled about earlier is one of the first things to go when you're busy is nutrition. Mm-hmm. So I've had to put a focus on it for myself, even though I run a food business, to actually make sure I'm planning to look after my own health and take that information and be able to make sure that if I'm busy, I'm still looking after my own mental well-being, but 100%. Also my digestive health. So, I think, in the world of being an entrepreneur, there's various challenges you can face. And I think busyness and neglecting your own personal health is probably one of the biggest ones that we take for granted. Mm-hmm. And just like in the scenario I talked about in corporate world, if you're not nourishing yourself, how can you perform at your A game? And that's something that I really would urge anybody who's listening to really consider and make time, even if it's like 5 minutes, to get that nourishing smoothie that we were talking about with the NutriBullet. Mm-hmm. Whatever you can do as a life hack for well-being, like help yourself, because actually that small change of 5 minutes can add huge value into, your general well-being, your mental health, and also the way that you perform in your day job.
Okay. So the initial jumping into business, what was that like?
Oh God. It's funny because I commented earlier that I actually didn't realise just how much of a cushy life I had when I worked for a corporate company, because I thought I worked hard, but there's nothing quite that can prepare you for the amount of hard work that goes into setting up your own business. So I think the difficulty, I suppose, when it's your business is you're taking decisions that have a direct impact on everything within your world now. So whereas you had somebody you could turn to be able to maybe talk to about social media, for example, or whether it's somebody, whether it's a team of experts that can talk about the marketing, or, somebody who can be responsible for the PR side of the business, you're now responsible for all of that. The hardest thing that we had to decide was our name, funnily enough, at the beginning, and nobody ever warned me that it was going to be a tough thing to find a name that was available with all social media handles, that made sense to you, and actually was, something that an audience would resonate with. Now, we're called Green Sisters, and that actually ended up being as a result of Rena and I spending hours, in fact probably months, trying to work out what we're going to register, and it's come to the point where now we need to register at Companies House, and we're like, my God, what are we going to do? And we sat together and I was like, right, your name's Rena, my name's Geeta, and we're sisters. How can we put those words together and just find a name? And G from Geeta, Reen from Rena, and sisters kind of was the thing.
Okay, cool.
And it was supposed to be a temporary name. So this is a little bit of private intel, because we've always planned to change it. But the interesting thing that happened was all of the handles, they weren't all available, so on some social media sites you'll find that we're Green Sisters_official. But we could find a variation of it. But the funny thing is we intended on changing it, and then we went out to our marketplace, and everybody would come up to us and say, we love your name. By the way, we love your name. And we'd look at each other with a smile and a twinkle in our eye thinking, we were going to change that, but maybe we'll keep it. And I think the beauty of the name that we have is it's dictated our path as well. We're very much trying to be sustainable. We're almost trying to ring true to a name that almost came about through pure accident and actually very much fits with what our ethos is and how we intend to do business. So there's lots of learnings that come along that entrepreneurial journey, and that was just one of them for us, is like listening to your customers and allowing that to change the decisions that you make was a big thing for us.
Okay. So when did you find value in yourself? Because there's a lot of people that are out there that don't necessarily see value in themselves. I've like done polls on Instagram and on other social media platforms, and a lot of them say no, that they don't have value or they don't believe in themselves. So how did you find value in yourself?
I come from a really strong background. I think it comes down to my roots. I've been very fortunate to have parents who probably instilled confidence from a young age. I think the other thing to bear in mind is it's easy to listen to outside sources and be super critical. If you know you're passionate about delivering on something, that's what keeps me going. It's not necessarily confidence in myself, it's confidence in what I want to achieve, and the fact that I feel that if I don't fulfill this because other people need it, then that would disappoint me. So I think I'd lose confidence in myself if I did the opposite and I wasn't out there putting this out there. So I think the whole purpose of our vision and the purpose behind the business is what's really given the confidence, and it drives the confidence, because if you know you're making a difference, you know you're doing it for the right reasons, and you truly have that purpose grounded, then I think confidence is a natural sort of byproduct of that.
That probably comes with like the determination as well, like because you've got your purpose, you're determined to reach your goal at the end of the day because you've got that purpose, which is amazing. So what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh God, that's a really good question. I'd love to say do it sooner, but I think everything happens for a reason, and I don't think I would have quite carved out the journey we have now if I did it differently.
Yeah.
I'd probably say pay more attention.
Pay more attention to what?
Pay more attention to everything, because
Okay.
it's all useful. Complain less when you're not enjoying doing something, because there was a certain job I had in my career where I was convinced that they were just literally overworking me and underpaying me, and it was just really a lot of hard work. And actually that's the career that carved my ability to be able to be an exceptional business owner, because of the experience and the diversity and how much I was pushed in that role actually helped me to get that stretch and that strength and stamina you need to be able to fulfill all the functions in your business. And in that particular role, I was literally stretched. And I didn't realise at the time that it was setting me up perfectly for a position in an entrepreneurial world, because I was responsible for absolutely everything there.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm responsible for absolutely everything internally. And I think it's that, maybe that's a little bit of where the confidence came from as well, because I'd been given that stretch already. So having that stretch in my own business, I knew that no matter whatever happened, I could probably overcome it and achieve.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my 20-year-old self is probably, don't have so much pride in yourself, because actually all of the things that stretch you and make you feel like you're not going to, you're not being rewarded, or you're not being, you're not doing something that you absolutely want to at that point in time, is actually going to add value to your longer term future in the journey.
Okay. So how do you remain balanced? Because obviously business can take up a lot of your energy and a lot of your time, and then you've got your own personal energies and life and stuff like that. How do you remain balanced? And it's okay if you're not balanced, because I know that there isn't and people have said that there aren't. But like, how do you try and implement balance, do you know?
That's a really great question, and I think it's a massive watch out. I think there's always going to be times, it's recognising that there are always times where you won't feel balanced, first of all. That's a really important pillar, is recognising when you're not balanced and allowing yourself not to be balanced. I think so many times we have this perfect vision of what we think everything should be like, and it sets this kind of bar of how you can perhaps, you know, envisage things to be, and that's how it should be. But there is no such thing as, you know, this is how it needs to be. It is what it is. And the minute you can kind of accept it is what it is, it helps you to be able to cope with it. I think the second thing is the network, really.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with individuals. Like, I mean, I've come out today the first time for a really long time, and we've sat down and we've talked, and it is just nourishing.
It really is.
It really is. From a mental health perspective, I feel like I'm absolutely over the moon that I'm here. And that's because that's important, and this is like my way of, you know, filling my cup. So I guess one of the things that I would probably recommend is being aware of what helps you to become more balanced, because when you start to notice that your energy levels are increasing, it's like, do that, replicate that. Write a note to yourself, actually, that's what's going to help me. And I personally think having people who have gone through that journey and that experience, you know, whether it's in a different line of work, but they're still entrepreneurs, or whether it's completely your family or friends, if you have those people that you can turn to, then that really helps, you know, to keep that balance.
Cool. So, like, what's one of the biggest learning curves that you've learned through your entrepreneurial journey?
Dare I say it, is pause. I think this period of time in the pandemic has been probably the biggest learning curve that anybody could have had, and that goes for every business, not unique to me, and everybody I've spoken to has found that it's been a strategically positive move to be able to press pause, because we're so busy doing the do, and it's so easy to kind of get lost in the day-to-day. And even when you're lost, you might not even realise that you're lost. So I think it's important to set some time aside, ideally weekly if you can, just to kind of reflect what went well, what didn't go so well. And actually, am I doing what I really think? You know, set what your ideal goal is and revisit it, because you might, and it's okay to not have done it the way you thought you should have, because guess what, this is a journey. It's not just the actual, you know, it's not just having an idea and this is the exact way I need to get there. It's actually pivoting and being able to kind of recognise that there's more than one way to kind of achieve whatever it is that you're getting to. So I would say, yeah, I really think that taking time out, reflecting, and then not being scared to diversify and go a different way, just to get to the bigger aim, is absolutely fine. And actually, everything might change. So, you know, with adversity, could be that you completely pivot to a whole new different level. And there's been a number of businesses, I think, that have done this so well in the SME world, where actually their whole, since COVID, you know, they were transacting in a completely different way, and now they're no longer running a business that's product-based, they're doing a service-based business. Survival is survival, and business and the overall vision and the reason you exist can still be the same no matter what form it takes.
In 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Hopefully, cruises will continue and I'll be able to be on a really nice boat somewhere exotic. Yeah, so I think for me that's what success looks like. It doesn't, not just a cruise, by the way. It's sort of, I've always tried to live by the principle of being able to work to live rather than live to work. And I think that achieving that balance is just what I want. You know, even if it takes form of just being happy with my family at home and having a really balanced home life, for me it's just being happy. And so in 5 years' time, if I can do all the things I want to do plus put food on my table, that is what success looks like to me. From a business perspective, where I expect the business to be is to have an international presence, because you know, the customers we serve, they're not just ones that exist in the UK. We believe that customers further afield are, asking and wanting to see products like ours exist. And as I mentioned, our mission is actually to make sure that food is accessible and that there's inclusion in every possible scenario. So whether that's sporting events, whether that's the Commonwealth Games or, in the future, other sporting large sort of events, that people can access this type of food. Also at home, I want to hear of people feeling confident with the way that they're eating, and that they're able to sit down as a family, and no matter who's sat at their table, that by removing, all of the 14 allergens that the Food Standards Agency in this country regulate, you actually take away 90% of the allergy occurrences that happen in hospitals. You take away those barriers that they have to eating together. So it's about making sure that we are recognised as the brand to go to be able to help you to integrate in whatever scenario, and not have to worry that actually so-and-so's coming for dinner who's plant-based, and then actually I've got another nut allergy child coming as well with them, and the other person's vegetarian and next person's celiac, that you just don't have to think twice about it, and it's all very, very natural.
Okay, amazing. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs or business owners that are actually going through the pandemic at the moment?
I'd say keep strong. It's a challenging time, and I think most businesses are really reflecting on, number one, what survival looks like, and I think they're also reflecting on how to, how to be as a business. What are they trying to achieve now? And there's so much uncertainty into what actually might come in the future from I've talked about sporting events, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, will sporting events ever be the same? And I think, that open-mindedness is the biggest bit of advice I would give, because I think plans are changing consistently. For us, projects have fallen back in timeline, and having that resilience to be able to accept the challenges is one of my biggest challenges right now, actually, and I think I won't be alone in that. So remember your purpose, I think, is the advice I would give, because I think that's really the reason why it's less difficult to kind of say, actually, I'm going to pack it in, because of the purpose that we serve. And I think if you can kind of try and find ways to pull and reach out to people who might be able to support you along your journey if you are finding it a challenge, then that would be really helpful. Equally, there are some people who've come out of this in a much better light, and I think to those individuals I'd say share, because it's so important for us SMEs and entrepreneurs to be able to give back, so that we can hold the whole of our society together and make sure that when the good times are going, that we're able to share that, but also equally when the hard times are there, that we can also share in that. And there is definitely enough information and knowledge out there for us to be able to share and help everybody to kind of move forward in what's a very tricky climate.
So what 3 things make up an entrepreneur? And I know that there's loads, but which 3 things would you pick out?
Well, that's a really good question. What makes an entrepreneur? I'd say somebody who's really passionate, who sets their mind to something, and isn't blinkered by other people. So you being an individual and being confident to be an individual, and not letting somebody knock you off that perch. So that's the second one, being an individual, being passionate. And I don't know whether it's just me, but I just seem to, everywhere I go, find another business. Everything I evaluate seems to be, and that could happen, and actually that could be a business. So we have this amazing ability to see when needs aren't being met and identify with solutions that can help to advance society. So if you're one of those people, I think you might be an entrepreneur. So get yourself on this path and start working on those solutions, because I think those are the 3 that I would say really earmark you into being an entrepreneur.
Okay, amazing. And I just want you to have some airtime to promote and push the Green Sisters and everything that you're doing, how people can find you, how people can contact you. So just make it fly.
Okay, thank you. So those of you who don't know us, as I mentioned earlier, our purpose is to really break down the barriers that have been created through food, whether that's actually lack of being able to eat together, or whether that's you're out at an event. And if you're a business or a corporate listening to this, it's about providing those solutions so that actually the world thinks at this moment in time that the increasing aisles in a supermarket mean that actually it's solved, but there are people like me who may have more than one dietary need that just not being met currently in society. So I'd say if you want to get in touch with us, please either contact us on our social media channels. Facebook and Instagram, we are at Green Sisters _official. Twitter, we are at Green Sisters _. Website is www.greensisters.co.uk. On a side note, I also really am an avid fan of well-being and nutrition. So if you are interested in finding out more about having a well-rounded plant-based diet, it's an area I specialise in. I run under the name of Natural You Nutrition. So Nature All You Nutrition means that it's all about you. It's personalised based on your own individual needs, because we're all human beings living our own way, and it's about ensuring that you're walking around as a nourished individual. If there's anything that resonates with you and you'd like to get in touch, my name's Geeta. I'm one of the co-founders, and you can reach me at Geeta, Geeta, at greensisters.co.uk. And if there's anything else we can help you with, or any product ideas that, I'm missing that and I really miss it, then come to us, because we'd love to help to innovate some of those products for you. There
Cool.
we go.
No problem. So all of the links that she just mentioned, I will put them in the description. All you need to do is click down in the description and everything will be there, and you can definitely get in contact with the amazing Geeta. I would love for you to like this video, share it with an entrepreneur that could really benefit from the information that's been told in this video. Geeta's story is really amazing, and because I've seen part of the journey at the NatWest Accelerator, and just speaking to her, and she's inspired me in so many different ways, especially in my own journey. But that's a completely different story.
Don't forget tasting the food.
And tasting the food. The food's absolutely tremendous. Should bring the food down to the events and I'd be like, oh, jeez, I am set. I wouldn't really look at anything else, but yeah, that was...
What makes me giggle is when people come to the events and they go, we only came for the food, but don't tell anybody. And it just makes me laugh. So the side note is, the little tiny print is, just because it's free from doesn't mean it's free from flavour. So those of you who have never tried something that's free from, don't just walk past the aisle because you think, oh, it's not for me. Actually, there's some great tasting food that's coming now to the forum for people who actually are in it for the right reasons, and actually developing this food because it should be nutritious, it should be tasty.
Should be tasty.
You know, that's really, really an important message. And I think that, sorry, you know, you were winding down the podcast, but I thought this is so important to get out there, because free from food, I think, has been tarnished negatively with that free from flavour brush. And I think, whilst I appreciate there's a lot of products out there that maybe you open the wrapper, you know, it's not necessarily what you're expecting. Definitely, there's tons of us brands like Green Sisters who are now coming to the forefront and saying, let's shake this up and let's give you something exceptional to try. So if you haven't tried any of our products before, hit me up and you'll find our details.
The food is genuinely so nice. Like, I get what you mean as well. When I used to open up a packet of something and I'd be like, wow, this is going to be just like dry or just like tasteless. And then it just kind of is, it's kind of disappointing. But then definitely at your events, the food is amazing. That's what I'm trying to get at anyway. So definitely get in contact with her. Please leave a comment down below of any questions that you got for myself or for Geeta, and Geeta will get back to you, or it'll be myself. And I want to say thank you very much for watching and listening to the Huffington Post show. And I'll see you on the next one.